That's right back, Charlie. That's right.
Because you always use that active when like defenders. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. As the big man Ian Wright just said there, people deluded, I'm back again. I'm here with Jess, aka She Knows Arsenal. Again, I've just done a live stream on her platform. I can't imagine you're not following, but go like, comment, subscribe, follow the movement, show Arsenal fans some love. And I've got her on my platform where we're probably going to repeat the same things. Your mic is muted, but how you doing, Jess?
Thanks for reminding me, because I would have just started talking. I was definitely just about to start talking, but yeah, I'm feeling all right. I'm doing okay. Like, I'm ready for Arsenal to start playing again. I'm saying that now, but I'm ready to see some games. You know, I'm tired of the transfer nonsense. I know we'll talk about some of it, but yeah, I'm ready for a game. You know, I'm ready.
You said it there, man. I don't know if come 90 minutes against Crystal Palace we'll be feeling that same way. But yeah. I'm going to ask you a question a bit left and straight off the bat, yeah. Arteta in or out? It's nice to ask someone else that, because you probably get asked it a million times. I definitely do. In or out? Shake it all about.
I would say Arteta in. The season hasn't ended yet. And even though I'm not really feeling confident about us winning any major honors, that's all that's left on the table is winning the Premier League or the Champions League. Not really feeling that at the moment. I think it just, context is so important. And if we were to fall off of the pace of the Premier League, you know, and be like 10 points off the top at the end of the season, yeah, I'd be more, you know, open to talking about maybe moving Mikel Arteta on. I think you have to be really, really close if you're going to lose it. But if you're a point off the top and you get to the semifinals of the Champions League and you go out to Real Madrid, what can you do? You know, so context is key. Right now, I'm still feeling like Arteta should stay in the job, but I'm also not somebody that's shy about having the conversation about whether or not Arsenal do need to get a different type of manager in to give us that extra 5%. Because I don't feel like the project should be based upon Mikel Arteta and his development. It should be based on what the club want to do, and they should place a manager in that position that can make that happen. And so, yeah, I'm feeling Arteta in, you know, at the moment.
I'm with you with that, in a sense of our club should have an ethos and a philosophy. Right now, it's obviously, you know, young players growing on the pitch with a young technical director in Edu and Mikel Arteta. And for me, I'm not Arteta in or out. I think there's many concerns. I think there's many positives. I think in terms of, simply put, when he's walked into, if he left today, we're dramatically a better club, you know. So the rebuild, making us, you know, fight again, challenge again, just excited about seeing our team. I think a lot of the difficult decisions he's made, he's backed up. He's definitely done a lot wrong. I'm concerned about, since we won the FA Cup, how we've performed. I don't think we've performed, and I mean the players as well, how we've performed in European competition in the latter stages. With us playing Porto, I think there needs to be a fix up with that. I praise him for how he's assembled the squad. Like when Zinchenko came in, it was a breath of fresh air with Jesus, with keeping Granit Xhaka, with utilizing Thomas Partey, and, you know, at the time with Aubameyang and Pepe and all of them difficult decisions that went with it, they've all kind of been backed up. So I've got nothing but admiration for the guy. I do think the conversation now shifts, or should kind of shift in. As I said, one love for what you did. If we're now talking about being Premier League contenders and stuff, Edu, Arteta, the players, I start to judge you a lot a bit harsher. And regardless of what City or Liverpool are doing, I personally think we need to maximize everything we've got. I still think we've got this element of self-capitulation and making things harder for ourselves. Like last season, we didn't expect to be in a title race. There's no shame in losing to a generational coach like Pep and a treble-winning side. But if we're honest with ourselves, we didn't arrest what we needed to arrest, and hopefully we can learn. I think you said it there, with context is key. If the metrics in all aspects are improving, players are improving, we're doing what we need to do, recruitment's getting better, we're running this title race down to the wire more or less, then fine. Obviously, if we finish outside the top four or we're massive points off, there's things that have to be arrested. I wanted to ask you on Mikel Arteta, what do you think is the best thing he's done at this club so far today, and the worst thing he's done at this club so far today?
The best thing that he's done is I think the cultural aspect of things. I feel like He's got us to a point where the locker room is not toxic. I know that some people try to revise history on that, but just because you like the players and they were talented doesn't mean that there wasn't a level of toxicity. And I feel like we all know it was there because it wasn't just Arteta that was dealing with it. It was Emery that dealt with it as well. So I think turning over the cultural aspect of things and making it, a little bit more of like an environment where people could grow and there could be harmony and, things like that. Getting the connection between the fans to the club also is something that he's had a major part in, which I think is important. And so those are probably like the best things. The worst thing I feel like is not just on him, it's also on Edu. And for me, it's been big decisions made in recruitment that probably didn't need to be made. And
Such as
I feel like it's this idea that in order to support Arteta, you kind of have to give him everything that he wants, or, he just should get carte blanche. And I feel like there should be some questions. I wonder if there's checks and balances in there, because it feels like Arteta wanted Havertz and he got Havertz, but he has Emile Smith Rowe in the team who I don't think Havertz and Emile are exactly the same, but they do similar things in midfield at least. And you also spend 35 million on Fabio Vieira, who also plays in those positions. And so should there have not been somebody in the room saying, yeah, you may want Havertz, but we're going to spend that 65 million on something else, and you need to use what you have right now. And I feel like that's the worst thing, is that he's been put in this position of power despite not having a lot of experience. And I feel like he's learning on the job, and we're seeing those mistakes, or they feel like mistakes. And I feel like there needs to be a little bit more of a balance between Arteta getting some of the things that he wants, but also being told no in circumstances like Havertz, Raya, things like that. That neither of those decisions have given us an uptick in anything, and they almost feel like 100 million pounds down the drain together. And so I feel like that's the biggest thing. Is up until now, I could back a lot of the things that Arteta has wanted to do, squad building wise. But this last summer window was supposed to be the one that made us close the gap on Manchester City. And I don't really think we've done that. And so I just wonder if there could be a little bit more of like checks and balances, a little bit more of like a leash on Mikel, because those are huge decisions that have seemed to have not gone our way. Does that kind of make sense?
That makes that's facts what you're saying, man. You're speaking facts. And I do think there's been times where he's said in the transfer market where he hasn't got his way, but 9 times out of 10 he has. And that's where I'm a bit harsher on Mikel Arteta, because you are the first manager post Wenger. Not that there's been a lot, but you're not the head coach, you're the manager. We spoke about on your platform, obviously, anyone, it's like with Man United and Alex Ferguson, the first one through the door is always going to be the hardest. So Emery was kind of almost killed, and obviously we weren't all singing from the same hymn sheet. There was a lot of changes and things of that ilk with it. But I do think that's where I'm a bit harsher on Mikel Arteta, because if we're honest, Arteta clearly holds more weight than Edu. He's the golden boy. As you said, everything's made in his decision. I think if Emery had this bust up with Aubameyang like with Ozil, he doesn't win that. But the club have always gone with Arteta. I don't want to describe Arteta as a spoiled child, but it does get the vibes that, mommy and daddy, piggy bank can buy you everything. And with great power comes great responsibility. That's where I kind of feel we can have our concerns about KSE and things, but you can't really blame them. We see the remit they do with their clubs. They've given money. If we're close to our budget or overspent our budget, and the knock-on effects are we can't spend again, or our squad doesn't have strikers that's going to score, doesn't have the necessary guile and what we want to see in terms of dictating the midfield, or there's defensive errors or players are not there, that is for me on Mikel Arteta. And I do share your opinion with Edu, but I just think how it's kind of difficult in Edu's defense. I definitely think it's a bit harsh, but I definitely want to see Edu pull rabbits out the hat, get better at selling and just make a madness happen. But at the same time, how do you judge Edu? Because I agree with you, he should sit there and say, you know what, I don't think Havertz is the best spend of money. And I think when all the people are in the room, they do say that. But at the same time, if Arteta sings that praise and, the sugar daddy, KSE, says, get Arteta what he wants, and Edu does exactly that, we can have question marks about the fee and stuff. But essentially, if he's bringing Arteta exactly what he wants, it's like you sending me to Sainsbury's. I don't know if you have Sainsbury's in America, but the grocery store, and I go and get the ingredients you want, and I bring you it, and the meal that you're talking about isn't quite good enough, then where do we blame? I got exactly what you wanted to do. And that's one of my biggest criticisms for Arteta. It's a bit of a twofold. I like the way we've assembled the squad. I love a lot of these players, you know, definitely in recent years, collectively, there's like 20 players that we like a lot, even the ones on the peripheral. But and me and you have spoken before. I think sometimes where we've got a lack of ball playing midfielders in midfield, where we have toothless strikers, where a couple of players are not necessarily on it. I think Arteta has signed up for that with how he has assembled the squad. Fair enough, he may have tried to bring a striker in the summer, etc., etc. But as you said, you know, in hindsight, if we were close to FFP, I think that had knock-on effects with selling Balogun and keeping Nelson. But was it worth bringing in Raya? Again, if Raya shows his quality, great. I'd say forget Raya for a sec. The 65 million on Havertz, who I think is all right. He's doing okay. But based on what I've seen praising Havertz, there's probably a million players he could do what he wants. So that's a hole in midfield, really. Fair enough, Xhaka wanted to go. I think he's been a bit naive in letting Xhaka and Toney go, regardless of what they wanted to do, because this was a transitional period. Yeah. So it's a bit of a difficult one, man. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm not about to do no Tierney war with you right now, because I could go down that rabbit hole. Anybody who acts like Tierney was going to do something different for us.
Now let's have it. Because I agree with you. I'm not even trying to buy you for Tierney. I'm just saying, like, I would have loved to have had him at Anfield. I would have loved to have had him in the squad.
Why?
What you want to rock up with Kirio at left back rather than Tierney?
But let's be serious for 1 minute. I've seen Tierney get ripped, just like
what player has been ripped? What player has been ripped?
The thing about Tierney is the revising on Tierney is very funny to me, because I remember us having conversations, not necessarily you and I, but you know, about Tierney and what his strengths are. His strengths are definitely getting down the touchline and putting in good crosses. He's an old school fullback. Yeah, he's an attacking fullback. He was not an amazing defender, and I need people to be all the way freaking for real about that.
He weren't amazing, but he was probably one of the best 1v1 defenders at this club.
And that's not saying much, because we don't have many. We don't have many.
That's not on Tierney. That's on your gaffer. Like Mikel Arteta being devil's advocate.
Kieran Tierney, beyond being like a player that we cannot use because the way that he wants to play at left back doesn't really suit what we're trying to do. Watching him invert is like watching a train hit a wall.
It's like asking an elephant to climb a tree, man.
Yeah, it's like, what's happening? Like, this is so like not him, you know?
I agree with that.
Then you have he's injured all the time. Like people that are like, see, we should have kept Tierney.
I mean, he was fit for a large period of last season, but you are right.
Almost the entire time. Like, let's be serious, you know? So yeah, Tierney is what he is. Like, I don't know. But who's the other player that you said we should have kept? Maybe? Oh, Xhaka.
Yeah.
Xhaka.
He wanted to, not for what it's worth. I'm being devil's advocate. Xhaka said I wanted to leave, innit? But it is what it is.
He wanted to leave, but the remit was so easy on that assignment. The assignment was to bring in someone who was better than Granit. And we know what Granit was good at. And we know, like, all you need to do is bring in somebody that was probably just like a little bit more attacking. Yeah, you needed a midfielder, but probably more mobile, because that was one of Xhaka's biggest flaws, is that he couldn't move. He's not that guy, you know, but you needed a midfielder. We went out there and did the strangest thing you could have done. The strangest thing. And so I feel like we wouldn't talk about Granit as much.
No, we wouldn't.
If we had just done the right thing. And that's why I'm like looking at everybody so sideways. And I wish I was a fly on the wall. I know that they're reviewing the summer window now. And I want to know what people are saying. Are people looking at Arteta like, what is this?
You have to be, because we can't be naive. Me and you are having this conversation. Obviously, they know all about football a lot more than us. They're privy to, as you said, being a fly on the wall. But respectfully to Kai Havertz, he can't have been. It's not like Declan Rice, where if there's Edu, Mikel Arteta, and all the other advisors, everyone's on signing Declan Rice. The only kind of caveat could have been he's a bit expensive, but then you obviously say quality, you need to pay. It's been backed up. There's obviously some people that were scared about Kai Havertz. Again, the one thing you can't answer is what is his best position. You talk to any Chelsea fan or Arsenal fan, they're going to tell you a bunch of things. I think Havertz has settled and he's done okay, but for the things that I praise him at, a lot of players could do that if I'm honest with you. And that's what I mean why Arteta has to hold the blame for that, because if it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you're an idiot. And you've won. Arteta is the most important man in this Arsenal kind of universe. You got everything you wanted, and Mikel Arteta is not an idiot. He's for weeks and months, he was probably deliberating about Kai Havertz, speaking about short, medium, and long term, how he can improve him, what he can do for the team, etc., etc. Definitely where the fee was concerned, he had to definitely fight his case. That's why I look at Mikel Arteta a lot stronger with that. To go back to the Kieran Tierney thing, though, before we move on and get on with Arteta, I did want to ask you a couple of questions because you mentioned Kyrgios. Like, would Kieran Tierney, like Kyrgios against Brighton, would be playing around with his boot rather than playing on? Would he have ducked against that header against Sporting? Would he have got savaged against PSV?
Yo,
I know Tierney ain't going out like that. I just want to know. Like, I like Kyrgios. I just want to know. I just want to know because the way you're moving about Tierney is like he's going out like that. I don't know about that.
When he played around with his shoe.
Exactly. I got my receipts, man. I like Kyrgios. So no one disagree. I like Kyrgios. There's receipts.
I'm really suspect.
He's dodgy, man. And for a Polish international footballer, someone that might not be Italian, but when you hear Italian defender, you think, yeah, that's the university country of defending. You're kind of ugly. It's like you will die before you want to concede. Don't see that. And it goes back to what you said about Arteta.
I don't understand why he's like this. He has these like moments of madness. But yeah, Tierney probably would have been a better option than Kiwior if you compared those two.
1-0 to me, folks.
Yeah, but for everybody that every time Zinchenko makes a mistake and they start yapping about, well, Tierney, have a seat. Be serious.
Yeah, no, that's doing too much. I personally like Zinchenko.
Minute. That's what pisses me off. It's like, yeah, he could have been in the squad, like, but for us with Tierney right now, it's more about getting him playing time so that we could sell him. So he can't really be chilling on our bench because Arteta's not using Tierney. He's not using Kiwior. He's not using Tierney. But
that's the thing.
He'll play anybody over Kiwior or Tierney. Like, let's be serious.
No,
but
you're right.
But with Zinchenko, like, I stand 10 toes down on this. I agree with you guys on the defensive thing, but what do you expect? You have a number 10 playing as your left back. Like, he's going to suck at defending. Be serious.
That's where Arteta has to hold his blame because you're building your foundations on that. And there's games for Zinchenko, but when we're in the trenches, you're not the guy. And the better we get, the less we kind of have to have that caveat of Zinchenko inverting. I agree with you. I think people are very harsh on Zinchenko. I think there's a use for him. I don't know why he doesn't start organically in midfield, but I have to ask myself.
There's a reason.
There's got to be a reason. Arteta and Pep, they never really done that. It's a bit of a myth. And to be fair, in the summer, while I don't really cut Arsenal luxuries of injuries because it happens a lot now, Timber was there. Tomiyasu can play there. Kyrgios looked a lot more comfortable there. I think Tierney said, you know what, manager, a bit like Xhaka, I want to try something new. And when we go back to the FFP stuff, I think, like with Balogun, I think a mixture of Tierney wanting to go, us trying to get some sort of fee in because we did get one for a loan, that kind of forced it out. As like what you said there, like Tierney, put yourself into the shop window. And to be fair to you, as good as Tierney's been in Spain, he has kind of been injured. Would you give Mikel Arteta a new deal?
Hold off on that. I just don't feel like we should make it difficult for Barcelona to come and get him when they inevitably sack Xavi. Yeah. That's the only way that I feel like we move to the next chapter. If I'm honest, like I was having this conversation with a friend and, she was like, well, what about Mikel? Like, should we move on? And I'm just like, the only way that Mikel leaves is I feel like if he wants to go. And I feel like the only way that he goes is if Barcelona come calling. Like, I feel like that's the natural progression. And here's the thing. I don't want to hate Mikel when he leaves. I want to like what he's done and I want it to end naturally. And I don't feel like we're in the era, like I don't get the same feeling about him as I did with Arsene, where it was like you were comfortable for over a decade with the same person. Like most managers only last about 3 or 4 seasons now. And there's a reason for that. Exactly. And so the idea that Arteta needs to be another Sir Alex Ferguson or Wenger or Klopp or Pep, like he doesn't have to. Like it could just be the case that he helped rebuild Arsenal to a certain state. And then we've gotten to a place now where we just need something different or better or something to get us that extra 5% to actually be able to compete with Pep and Klopp in a real sense, And the only way that I feel like that happens is if somebody comes and takes him away. I don't think Arsenal are going to be proactive enough to see that before he has to finish low in the league or, lose a couple of star players. I don't think that they have that. So make it easy for Barcelona to come and get him, as far as I'm concerned, because it could be soon. Like, I think in the next 1-2 seasons, he could be the person that they come and get, and I want it to be easy for them to take him, because I'm getting the feeling that Arteta might be the person that helped us get to a certain space, and then we need to do something different. And it doesn't mean that we have to hate Arteta. I don't want to hate him. I don't. I
No,
don't
you're right.
want
You're
Arteta
right.
out. I don't. I
No,
want it
you're
to end
right.
naturally. You know?
No, man, you're speaking facts. It's like, even though Una Emre's time is obviously going to be marred, you could argue that, Emre and anyone, Arteta, anyone past that, they're all benefiting from Arsene Wenger, because whatever people say, built the stadium, there's a strong academy. We are a lot stronger in terms of resources, to the point where we're having a conversation about 65 million on Havertz, crazy money on Declan Rice. I do think, Emre was the first to kind of introduce this playing out from the back, different players. Obviously, Saka, Martinelli, Emil Smith-Rowe. Technically, the one good thing that regime did was buy Saliba. There was something to work with, per se, long term. And as I said on your stream, I think the conversation soon starts to move to, can Mikel Arteta deliver? Because like what I said on your stream, I don't want it to be in vain. Like, I don't want you to learn everything here. You go to Barca or whatever, because he is going to be a great manager if he isn't already. He's still young. I don't want it to be where I done that at Arsenal, it didn't work, I'm going to do this. It's a relationship of convenience. Like, Arteta knows it's a privilege to manage this club. Get your first job. And I actually rate him for that, because he turned the job down first time and he took over at Arsenal where it was terrible, with no experience. I do think there was times where he could have been sacked, might have been sacked at other clubs, etc., etc. I do like Arteta, but I do think he needs to learn from his mistakes and learn faster, if I'm honest. And in many regards, he has very quickly. In others, I don't think he has really and truly. So it depends, if I'm completely honest. How do you feel about our squad depth, though? Because there's been a lot of money spent. And again, injuries disrupt everyone, but it feels like we're saying the same things.
Yeah, I do feel like our our squad depth could absolutely be better. There's holes in the squad that can be improved, but equally, I don't think Arteta gets enough out of the squad that he has. And
What
so
do you mean by that?
so basically, we go through periods of time where I hear like Arsenal fans saying like players like Emil Smith-Rowe or Trossard or whoever is on the bench are not good players. They are good players. But when you only get 2 minutes here, 10 minutes there against Liverpool, to give Trossard and Emil Smith-Rowe those last 2 minutes, I was like, be serious, Arteta. Like,
What are
that's
you
kind
expecting?
of
Yeah.
messed up. Yeah, that's kind of messed up. And so I do think he can get more out of them if he gives them more, how does it, like, light rotation minutes, where, instead of playing your same starting 11 every single game, you could start Trossard, you could start Emil in some of these games with the starters, and it won't kill you. When it
Yeah.
kills you is when you have 8 of them out there at once, all low on confidence, never played with each other,
Very,
in
very
a
disjointed.
yeah, and in a competition where you're basically saying you don't care about winning or losing. When you look around and everybody around you is a bench guy just like you're looking around, you're seeing Jorginho and Elneny around you, you're seeing Kivior at the back, you're looking like, I'm out here with the scrubs. So you must not give a shit about this competition, you know?
True.
And
True.
shit, like, and so I feel like if Arteta could use a little bit more of his squad in situations where it's advantageous to them, like when Trossard started against Sevilla in the Champions League, it was fine. We didn't grumble. It's
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
but he likes to kind of run the same thing over and over again, and he only really rotates when it's forced with an injury. And I feel like that's a reason why we don't get the most out of the squad. And so when we do see them and they don't make the impact in the 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 2 minutes that they get, we start to make up these narratives that these players have no quality. And I think two things can be true at the same time, that these
Amen.
players are not good enough, and we need to upgrade, but equally the manager's not getting enough out of what he has. And so, yeah, that's no matter who's on the bench, we don't get anything from them. This is not the same bench that he started off with, but we get the same result no matter who it is, whether it's Trossard and Tommy and freaking Emil Smith-Rowe, or if it's Cedric and these guys and Rob Holding. Same results, even though it's different players. So I feel
Fact.
like he needs to get more. We need to improve our squad, absolutely. But do I think he could do better with the guys that he has? Yeah, I do.
I
do.
mean, the man himself said, like, it's my job to maximize and get the most out of my existing players. So, like, we're not catching him out. He's opened his mouth and said that. And I don't think he's lying. Do you think he trusts everyone? Because I look at Saka and Martinelli, let's be honest, their form has been terrible. Smith Rowe ain't got a look in on the left-hand side. Nelson ain't come in. Where you look at when we tried to sign Mudryk and Rafinha and Pedro Neto, maybe if you had one of them, they're getting blooded in. Do you think he trusts everyone in this squad necessarily?
No, not at all. Like, I definitely think it's a trust thing. I think it's a, you know, he's very comfortable with certain guys in the team. And also his system is built around the individual qualities of some of the people out there. And because Arteta, I think it's okay to say this at this point, he shows a level of inflexibility in his system that he has to rely on certain guys to be in there. His system, quite frankly, is built around inverting with Zinchenko and Jesus being the center forward. And so, and Saka and Martinelli doing a lot of work on those wings to create any sort of create up opportunities.
Oh, wow, you're praising Martinelli. That's crazy.
Of course, Martinelli. I like Mr. Martinelli. I do. I just feel like, yeah. We'll see. We'll see. We'll come back to these conversations. But yeah, I think when you look at the amount of work that those players have to do and how his system is kind of built around their individual qualities, he's not going to want to play Trossard, because if Martinelli is struggling to beat 3 or 4 guys on the wing, what do you think Trossard's going to do? He's not necessarily that player. He's more of a he's more of a player that needs to be.
I didn't hear what you said about Trossard there. What did you say?
He's not really that type of player. Like,
Now I heard.
Now this is nonsense. Okay, be serious for 1 minute. Okay,
I'm being serious.
Okay, so yeah, if Martinelli's struggling, he's not gonna try Trossard there. You know, if Saka's struggling, he's not gonna allow Reece Nelson.
He ain't taking Saka out for nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And so you see how much work Odegaard does as well. Like, these players that play in these positions have so many different roles.
Yeah,
the role is not simple. It's hard. It's layered. You know, so when you have only a couple of players that can actually execute it at a high level, you're not going to bring in the other guys because it's too hard. And Arteta doesn't want to modify his system at all. Like, if the way that he set up against Fulham, I was like, are you shocked that we lost that game? You know, like, you have Declan Rice at the base of your midfield and Havertz. Havertz doesn't involve himself in build-up at all, but you don't have
this
Zinchenko.
Is the big problem as to why you can't replace Xhaka, because whether Xhaka was running forward or playing like that more traditional one, Xhaka by nature, obviously his mentality, Xhaka's not someone that's on being bullied. I don't think Havertz is either, but Xhaka wants to get onto the ball. Havertz, you might see the occasional dribble, the occasional 1-2, the third man run, but he's not interested. And that's kind of going back to what we said earlier, in the sense of, I don't think Arteta woke up and said, let's sign Kai Havertz. You clearly have to think about it. And to me, as an ignorant fan, I can't see how this works. So I look at him a bit more harsher in that regard, because we make a lot of song and dance about Xhaka. Xhaka was quality, don't get it twisted. But it's not like he's a white Patrick Vieira or a Petit or a Pirlo. No. A lot of this is made because we didn't do what we needed to do.
Yeah, and like, you didn't have Zinchenko. And watching Kivior trying to do the Zinchenko role was so cringe. Arteta, horrible, please. Man. Like, don't do that, you know? So, but that's why he doesn't rotate as much, because he wants to play in this way. The only way for Havertz to play in that position is if the left back is playing midfield. That's the only way. And so whether he has that player, he's going to do it. And so I forget who said it, but I will probably butcher it. But it was a tweet that was retweeted by somebody. And it was basically, they said, like, we have too many players in our team whose value in the squad is not really based around the position that they play. So you have a left back that's not a defender. You have a left center midfielder that's not a midfielder. And you have a striker that's not a striker. And when you move those pieces around, or those players aren't playing as well, what they do doesn't give you anything. And I feel like because Zinchenko and Jesus's like form is not as good, or they're injured, we're not seeing the benefits of them playing out of position. And so we're starving for just some normalcy in those positions, and we're not getting it because Arteta won't modify his system. If he wants to play this way, like if Arteta really wanted to play this way and he wanted to have Havertz making these late runs, maybe he should have kept Tierney and just let him bomb on and overlap instead, and just have him just kick the ball into the box, you know, do something different. But he doesn't modify anything. And so there's gaps in the squad, because we need a striker that strikes, we need a left back that left backs, and we need a midfielder that midfields. And we're not really getting that on a consistent basis.
And
Does
it's
that
a
make
weird
sense?
one. It's a weird one. I think you're bang on. It's a weird one because when I hear people say Arteta is arrogant, he's stubborn, he's rigid in his tactics,
Yeah.
in a weird way, I understand that. All of that makes sense. And there are times he needs to show more flexibility and find that balance. But
Yeah.
name me a manager, whether that's Jose, Wenger, Pep, that never done these things. You need to be able to do that. It's just about balance. And that's why I said, that's what I'm trying to articulate when I question mark Mikel Arteta's, naivety around building the squad, because I'm here for Zinchenko doing his thing, Jesus doing his thing. But I think sometimes you need to be a bit more organic. Like you said, defenders need to defend, midfield needs to midfield, and things like that. And I think I don't think our fullbacks are providing enough. I think collectively our whole team's dropped off defensively. Evidently, our most biggest problem is we're not scoring goals. As you said, with the subs and the players, we're not getting the best out of them. So how can we expect to win games or go on a run of form or do any of that?
Yeah.
So Mikel Arteta has to face the music, because I know not all of these players were guys that necessarily made their debuts over them, but whether he's bought them or not, everybody is in this squad because Mikel Arteta said so. So it kind of runs out, really and truly. I think fans, there's a lack of balance. I think there's Arteta sexuals who just cut excuses where there's none. I think there's some people that just lead the Mikel Arteta out brigade with a really lack of context around stuff and just project. And I think the truth is in the middle. I don't think you can undoubtedly be Mikel Arteta is the guy, like maybe how City back Pep or Liverpool with Klopp. I don't think you can just say he's been terrible. I don't think he's earned that right. I think it is a mixed bag. If there was ever a manager that can fit this remit and get us to another level, sorry, Arteta, you got to cut in it, really and truly. That's just how I feel. I support Arsenal, not necessarily Mikel Arteta beyond that. So I'm all for that. Do you trust Edu and Arteta in the transfer market in Jan? If there is things that we could do, obviously we know the premise of FFP and we're signing everyone in the summer. I'm sure you'd seen the news. So yeah, man, do you trust them to do anything? Do you trust them at all in the market? Where are you at with the transfer market?
I trust them to figure out a way to get a defender in. That's about it. Like, I feel like they've made their stance quite clear that they'll try to figure out some way to get in a defender, but they're also unwilling to sell. So they're probably okay with what they have. Like, we were very close to winning the league last season, and their answer to making the squad better was Jorginho and Trossard. And I like both of those players,
And
but
Kyriel as well, yeah.
yeah, I mean, think about it. That is how they acted when we were top of the league and we could have won the league. They didn't bring in
You're
a
bang on.
Caicedo, which I know, like, I get why we didn't, but it went from Mudryk, Caicedo to Jorginho, Trossard. They're not really that willing to make very big
Stopgap
decisions.
convenient signings.
Yeah, they're very kind of like hit or miss. Like, it's either bring in like an older guy, stopgappy type of person that doesn't really fit what we're trying to do, but they're cheap. And maybe it's agent connections or something like that. Like, that's how we end up with Cedric, whatever.
So
Or
we got
they go,
Trossard as well. His agent said
yeah,
he offered him to Arsenal, which not
yeah,
dissing it. That happens in football, and it is what
yeah.
it is.
Or they go big,
Yeah.
they go for the Mudryk or the Caicedo. There's no middle ground.
Or the
I feel
Vlahovic,
like,
none of these worked.
yeah, it's like, why is it either one or the other? Why can't we bring in like a younger creative kind of signing that other people are not thinking about? And I feel like that's the gap, between us and other teams, especially when it comes to recruitment, is that we're very obvious with what we're going to do. We either go with agent connections that bring us somebody that probably doesn't really fit what we're trying to do but can do a job for a little bit, or we go for the big signing that's usually like a Premier League signing or whatever like that. Your Declan Rices, your Ben Whites, your these guys. But I would like to see like more of like a Luis Diaz type of signing, that Liverpool were able to do in January. A player that was available that cost them what, 35, 40 million.
Thank
That
God he didn't go to Spurs, man. He was close, allegedly.
yeah,
Thank God.
absolutely, like, gives you that bump. Even like Spurs have done like good January signings, like what's
Werner and that
Kulis-
Romanian guy, Dragosian or something.
but like Kulusevski and
Kulusevski, lovely.
were both January signings
Yeah.
for Spurs.
And that's how they got top 4 over us, because we signed no one.
Exactly. So it cannot just be we're doing our big summer signing or we're bringing in old stopgaps. We're not creative enough. We're not agile enough. We're not that. And so that's what I don't trust about Arsenal, is that if they can't get the stopgap type of guy, which we shouldn't be going for right now, or the big signing, they're not going to do anything. And I don't feel like that should be something that Arsenal fans are feeling like is normal, because when you watch our contemporaries, you see them doing the stuff. So why can't we?
Facts.
You know, like,
Facts.
why can't we? Brighton are doing it. Why can't we do it?
I think
We're
with the
not,
Brighton
we don't
one, though, I
mess.
think Brighton have a bit of a luxury in that they're not expected to win things, and their players will kind of develop. And I
True.
think when you look at them, they loan out half their players. They've got a good remit. And I'm not saying you, but I think our fans that say, "Oh, why can't we get them McAllisters and Caicedos?" They're going to be the first to say, "Who the fuck are these players when we signed them?" Really, I agree with you though, because we should be able to scout. I like the fact that we're signing household names and all of those things. But yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I guess every signing is hit or miss, but it really feels like, and I didn't really feel about this until you said it. It feels like there's kind of no in between. You know, you get the Jesuses, the Zinchenko's, the Declan Rice's, Tomiyasu's, Gabriel's, Partey's, them kind of guys, and then you kind of get, you know, Cedric, Marie, these players that evidently are not going to get us over the line. There's very few players that are in the middle. You know, Lokonga didn't work, Tavares didn't work. I'd say if anyone's in the middle, it's probably Fabio Vieira and Kirio. And I like Kirio, but really I'm supporting nothing. I like Fabio Vieira, but I kind of think until you toughen up a bit, it's almost an impossible job, because you came in when there's Xhaka and Odegaard in your two positions. And saying what you said about when you're playing people out wide or playing people not in their roles, you're not really going to see a great Fabio Vieira out wide for Saka. It's just not going to happen, really. And when you add up the fees, you know, 65, well, Havertz plays, so Arteta will say that's a hit, but 65 for Havertz, 30 odd for Fabio Vieira, 20 odd for Lokonga, 20 odd for Kirio. I know signings get wrong, but that's almost just over 100 million. What could that have done? Even when you look at in the summer for Douglas Luiz, you know, the summer before last year, whatever they were asking for, we should have just paid, because it's pennies compared to what it is now. 65 million in the summer for Aston Villa's Douglas Luiz. I'm not saying it would have worked, but it might have. And you know he's a 6 and an 8. Kai Havertz can play everywhere. And yeah, if you want to bring in height and versatility and you know, international experience and all of that jazz, he's got that in a tenfold, man. So what? You trust us to bring in a defensive player? Is it fair to say the strikers and the right wingers and the centre mids, it's a myth?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, Arsenal tend to be a little bit like stuck when they need to make big decisions that actually would do something. It's weird to me because they can be ruthless and cutting with some of their decisions that are unnecessary, like bringing in a Havertz for 65 million, removing Ramsdale from the starting 11. Those things, they could figure out ways to ice out Aubameyang and get rid of these guys. But when it comes down to selling Eddie in January, when there's actual like interest and reinvesting that into a player that could help us win the title, they're unwilling to make those ruthless, harsh cutting decisions. And so I just find Arsenal to be a little bit of like a not a real G when it comes down to that. It's like we do it when it's convenient and when it's unnecessary, but when we really need to do it, it's like our watch is fake, you know, and it's like, come on, you know, like I need you to do it like when it really
The
matters. Like,
Rolex is
you know, like,
ticking,
come
man.
on. Yeah, I'm like, what is this? You know, so I just find it unlikely that we're going to bring in like a Toney or anything like that, because FFP is what it is. Like there's only been one permanent signing in the Premier League so far, so it's not just us, but we have opportunities to bring in money and we're not doing it. So yeah, I don't think we're going to bring in those players. I think they're already briefing that the summer window is going to be massive, you know, blah, blah, blah. Get excited about the summer. You know, and I'm just like, whatever.
So many guys in the summer. Like our summer has to be one of the best ever. I agree.
Pedri, I'm just like, oh my gosh, shut up. Like, please.
I mean, I make content around it, but truthfully, half these rumors, I'm happy they come out because it gives me something to talk about. But I'm like, I want to be wrong, but it'd be stupid. And obviously, as you said, it's not something just unique to Arsenal. Everybody's kind of feeling the FFP pinch. I don't know how you get around that. I don't know if there's creative accounting, but in theory, if there was a way of KSC to inject money into this club, if Arteta was to ask him for finances, which we have seen a few years ago, and whether it's Josh or Stan, regardless of what we're doing, if both of them or any of them said, you know what, Arteta, nope, you've spent a lot of money, forget that. Do you think they'd be wrong in doing that?
No. Like, they've given him so much. This last window was meant to be like a slam dunk window. You had 200 and something million to spend.
Yeah.
And we could have bought beyond the top tier of players. We could have convinced almost anybody to come to Arsenal because we were the best and brightest young project in Europe.
Yeah.
You know,
We were the envy of a lot of people.
yeah. So you
Arteta
have
was
to use
becoming the
that
blueprint of how
PR.
to rebuild.
Yeah, you have to use that PR when you have it. And so,
Facts.
we probably couldn't have gotten like my dream signing in Frankie de Jong. We couldn't have done that. Maybe not a Barella either, but we definitely could have done better than what we did. And so you had all that money to spend. You could have bought a striker. You didn't do it. So don't ask for money in January for a
Maximize
striker
your
now.
resources, which you
Yeah,
can't say
you
you're
need to
doing right now.
exactly make Havertz work. Make
You have
him
to.
work.
You signed off on it. You put your
Yeah.
reputation on the line. Like, and
Yeah,
there's no
you
get
need-
out clause. Chelsea couldn't believe their luck when we gave them 65 million on him, £5
And-
million hit, and he won them the champ. So they probably say, you know what, fine, have it.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, the fact that we just give people the amount that they want for players and we don't, and you know, you should have never bought him for 65 million. You could have bought him, but you should have bought him for like 30, 40.
I was screaming Kovacic, if anything, from Chelsea, even though I'm not saying he would have been the bee's knees. They're just evidently you fit more of a piece to the puzzle than Havertz right now. And I'm not trying to diss Havertz because you actually are doing okay. I do think Havertz has been a bit scapegoated at times at Arsenal and stuff like that. But it's I got to the point. It's kind of what you said about, you know, we said it on your stream and you said it there. It's like I can't really, while I want to see improvements, if Zinchenko isn't great defensively, if Jesus isn't going to score, if Havertz is doing what Havertz does, I can't really have energy for this because you've shown me for years and it historically in the Prem and currently in an Arsenal shirt, this is what you're on really. I have to look at the manager, and I'm not saying to attack the manager because, you know, we're all in this together. I'm not trying to catch anyone out, but in the same way I praise Mikel Arteta, I have to ask questions because, and as we said, and we both know, like not every signing can work out, but we haven't maximized every penny. You know, I don't want to be that guy, but I do think Arsene Wenger might not have signed Declan Rice, for example, but there's a lot of things that Arteta has done that I don't think he would have done really. Maybe, Wenger would have played some young players, so I'm not
Wenger
too sure.
also liked signing people from outside of the Premier League. I think that was
that's one thing that I like that Arteta is doing.
Him. Yeah. And like, I like that we sign players from the Premier League, but when you do it, it has to be like perfect. I feel like, because you know, these players, there's no room to have somebody that doesn't work out. And so I think we've gotten basically what we expected from like a Jorginho or in Trossard. We've gotten what we expected.
Jorginho's been okay, but like you said, like, you're not expecting fireworks. Like,
we're getting what we expect, but what I would have never expected us to go into that window and bought Kai Havertz. I just never would have expected it for the amount for what we needed. And so I definitely, if I'm Stan and I'm Josh, I'm looking at you and I'm just like, you need to make the most out of this because we backed you with this. And there were red flags, major red flags, big blaring red lights, and you still proceeded, you know, and you could tell that Arteta really wants to make him work. I mean, after he scored against Brentford, I think it was,
he
like
embracing him and hugging him and all that.
But I'm like, you know, our season can't be about making your very obvious bad signing work.
It can't be an ego beast, man.
Yeah, it needs to be about Arsenal winning things. And I feel like we've spent a lot of time complaining about goalkeepers, talking about goalkeepers, trying to make Havertz work instead of getting the most out of the players that we really need to get the most out of in Saka and Martinelli and Jesus and these guys. You know, it's just It's been rough. Like we've changed Odegaard's position to maximize Havertz. And I think Odegaard's doing a good job at it. But would I prefer Odegaard to be more in the pocket around the penalty box than deep in like a double pivot next to Declan Rice? Yeah, like I would. So there's a lot going into making Havertz work that we haven't really seen a lot from, but that's the decision that he made.
And you're right, man. He's gonna have to hold that because I feel some of the things he hasn't learned from last season are prevalent now. And again, like how many times are you gonna put your hand in the fire before you say maybe I shouldn't do that? It hurts. So he's gonna have to hold that. You know, would you as we move on to transfers, would you take Benzema and Firmino on loan?
I mean, I would definitely take Benzema.
He's going to be one expensive loan, though.
It would be expensive, but it would be fun to watch. I'm down for the shits right now. Like, it's like, okay, well, if we win something, then we win something. You know, if we don't, at least we get to see Benzema up there. I would love to see Odegaard passing the ball to Benzema. I mean, I'm just here for the vibes now. But obviously, like you said, the wages would be out of this world. And so, no. Like,
and the loan fee.
Yeah, loan fee. But Benzema at the Emirates for the last couple of months of the season. Let's be serious.
It's sell a lot of shirts, you know. We'll probably we need to bring out some merchandise and things, and it would be lit. I just question. I'm not saying Benzema's a bad guy because I like him. I'm with you. I'd like to see that, and I think Benzema will be good for the young players, like how he kind of was for Vinicius when he wasn't getting onto him and things. But I just wonder if you're Benzema, you've been around Carlo, Jose, all of these guys. You might look at Arteta like, who is this guy? You're not going to be here for the long term, and you don't really care. It's not that you don't care, but it don't really mean that much to you. Them lot are dreaming of winning leagues and champs. You've done it a couple of times over, really. You're the guy, Benzema, really. You'd probably have a World Cup if it wasn't for some other issues. You know, you spoke on Premier League proven players, yeah? And obviously, Romano has said, for those who are just listening and not necessarily watching us, Toney said, obviously, as he's back from his ban now, it's obvious I want to play for a top club and fight for titles. Yes, if a club was to pay the right money, then who knows, January or whenever is the right time, I'll be ready. I want to enjoy and play now. Now, Brentford fans must love and absolutely hate Ivan Toney because of these antics. But what do you make of Ivan Toney and potentially these comments? And it seems like he's one of the realistic ones Arsenal could get. I think there's more chance of us getting Toney than Osimhen, if I'm honest, even though I prefer Osimhen.
Yeah. I think it's an inevitability about this signing for me.
Too much twerking for us.
Yeah, it's a lot of him making it obvious that he wants to come to Arsenal. He'd rather come to Arsenal than Chelsea.
Said happy birthday to Declan Rice.
Yeah, saying happy birthday to Declan Rice, which is similar to like Declan Rice getting like Odegaard's signature on the kit after we played them. Like, to me, it's obvious. Like, I just feel like this is who we're going to end up getting. I feel like almost getting Raya and them doing us like the solid. All of this just reads Arsenal have like almost like an agreement. I'm not saying it's done, but I'm just saying like I feel like there's an agreement there in some capacity. And he fits the Arteta mold, Premier League proven, English. Like somebody had told me that the only reason why Raya plays for Arsenal is because he's Spanish. I was like, be freaking for real. Arteta's bought so many English players for this team. Like it's not about where they're from. He does, I think, because of the way that he came into the Premier League, and you know, he respects that good teams in the Premier League usually have a British core or some semblance of one, you know? So I do feel like he values that, and that's why he's going to go for somebody like Ivan Toney. It also helps with homegrown numbers, blah, blah, blah. So there's an inevitability about this. And like, I saw a quote or like a little stat that said like Raya kicking the ball to Toney was like the highest number of goalkeeper to striker.
You remember the Emirates last season?
I do. Brentford. I was there. I was there.
So yeah, you was first hand. You've got recollections.
Yeah, I was there. I remember.
With that. We could definitely do with that. And he seems like one of the more attainable strikers, really. Like, because he's got 18 months on his deal, clearly angling to leave, changed his agents. I think Ivan Toney's the number one target, but then I think because of what we're saying, and it seems like he's proper on it. Now, we might not be the only club that goes for him, but I think it's a thing where we might indirectly dot I's and cross T's with Toney, see if you can get the other strikers that are in and around. If that don't work, then that's your man next season.
Yeah.
I don't know, though.
Yeah, I think this just makes a lot of sense for what's historically been going on the last couple of months, you know. So if we end up with him, you guys know how I feel about it. You know,
maybe somebody's watching you for the first time on my stream. How exactly do you feel about Ivan Toney?
I don't know. Like, he just doesn't float my boat.
Why?
Statistically, he's just somebody that's like what? 3 more non-penalty goals than Gabriel Jesus
at a time. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So
but could you argue in a team that creates a lot more, he might get a lot more goals?
Yeah, you could. You know, you could.
Ready, not getting any younger.
It's like I looked at his comps, and I'm just like, most of his comps are him bringing the ball down from a Raya goal kick and knocking it over to Mbomo, and I'm not seeing enough him striking the ball into the back of the net. I see a lot of facilitating, and my fear is that Arteta likes him because of all the things that he does outside of scoring goals, and we don't need that. We need somebody
that's a big point.
Just needs to put the ball in the back of the net, and so no doubt he can do that, you know. But is he going to do it to the point where we're not going to want to replace him in the next 2-3 seasons? I don't know. You know, so.
I mean, with it's a weird one because I do think you're right on that about Arteta not wanting him necessarily for putting balls in the back of the net, but I think that's a necessary aspect of being a modern striker and what we need now. I think the only things going against Toney is I kind of want to see how he gets back, resumes life, obviously, after this ban. And I'm not that guy that goes, he's 28, he's finished. You can play for a number of years. Exactly. But you look at, half of the other players, Osimhen's got a couple years on him, Vlahovic got a couple years on him, Sesko, Ivan Ferguson, the list goes on really, Boniface. There's more longevity and ultimately resale value. If we were to sign Ivan Toney, and now I can't get 2 and 2 and get $1 million, but I need to see there's a bit of urgency because he's 28. Like, your time is ticking. If we have him for 2-3 years and we pick up some trophies, then nobody really cares. Bob's your uncle. What do you make of this? Edu apparently left Arsenal Dubai camp early. I wonder what for. Now, this could be an in the know chatting shit like they all do. Like, we've heard Isaac rumors and Bruno Gomares rumors. But what do you make of that for what it's worth?
Oh my gosh, I'm with Arsenal remontada right there, saying Cedric. He's probably trying to wrap that deal up because that's the only deal in the pipeline. You guys, be
Cedric
serious.
needs to cut, man.
Yeah, like, I'm happy to see the back of Cedric Suarez. You can have him, Besiktas or whoever wants him. It's fine, but another one of those stopgappy ones that we talked about that was never going to make the
Shit
grade.
player on big wages. Crap.
100%. So yeah, bye Cedric, but I think that's all that Edu is probably doing, you guys. I really just do not anticipate Arsenal doing anything massive.
I'm not fighting Cedric's case by any stretch. And kind of what you're saying about Eddie, if money's presented, you're kind of cut Eddie. I'm definitely not saying to keep Cedric, but just in terms of a body, if we're letting another defender go, is that inkling that a defender comes in? Should we necessarily be letting someone leave if someone isn't coming? Now, I know his contract's running down. He's on big wages, and clearly he's not in favor. But from that angle, does it make sense to you?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to see Arsenal bring in another defender to shore up the numbers. We don't know what's going to happen with Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu is great.
We know what's going to happen there.
But he's made of glass.
Love the guy, but we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, he's made of glass. So if you can't rely upon Zinchenko, who's also like struggling to get fitness and stuff like that, like you could do with another defender. And yeah, Cedric makes up the numbers. But if we get down to the point where we're actually considering Cedric, then we're in trouble,
Yeah.
So he, I would not mind seeing another defender come in there because I know what's going to happen anyway. And if you're going to bring one in, bring him in now. So I don't have to talk about another left back, right back in the summer because your girl's tired.
I am as well. Like we said it on your stream. For me, if you could get a Timber Tomiyasu kind of guy, I'm for that. If you can't, I want to see someone that's a left back and a right back. I'd prefer another centre half, but I just feel maybe I'm suffering from recency bias. But between Kirill and Zinchenko, and I know we've got Tommy and Zinchenko and all of these guys that could be fit, Timber as well, but I think we need a left back, man. So if we could do that, get it done. Sammy Motbell allegedly has said Arsenal aren't actively seeking to sign a striker right now, but if an opportunity arrives later on in the window, they may react. Toney is a serious target, but that is one the club will likely pursue at the end of the season when spending limitations won't be so restrictive. And I think Arteta said it's unrealistic in the aftermath of the Liverpool game for a striker. So it kind of aids the point about did we spend the money in the right way? Would you go for Rafinha? Because he said we were linked with him and he said clubs outside Spain that I like. He said Arsenal. Barcelona are broke. We had an admiration for Rafinha. You'd probably get a lot more first-team football than a couple of other wingers. Could we explore that?
That's all right. That's all right, man.
You don't rate?
No, it's not that I don't rate him. I just feel like you're going down that same. He should have never left the Premier League. He should have either came to Arsenal or went to Chelsea. He just was never going to make it at Barcelona. They have too many wonder kids coming through there, and you're just not making the grade. Last time I seen him play for Brazil, he could have been anybody. Like I was like people were talking about Martinelli. I was like, be serious. Do you see Rafinha? He's like 27 years old.
Of his former self, man.
Yeah,
very one-dimensional.
And what we do not need is another basket case that we need to give therapy to. And
enough of them in the squad.
Yeah, I would love for us to bring in players that are ready to go and like are at a high in their life, not needing rehabilitation. And he's another one of those. So you made your bed, now lie in it, Ralph.
Facts. And for me, it's more of a case of I just want mentality monsters, man. Declan Rice, if not for ability, guys like Declan Rice that you don't get too down in bad moments, you don't get too excited. As much as I'm a Wenger baby and I'm very romantic around footballers, and I love young footballers, I am getting a bit tired of the arm around shoulders players. When you make them feel good, they're the best in the world, and we need to move away from that. What would you make of potentially signing Xavi Simons?
We should have already done that.
Amen.
Because we had an opportunity to do that this past summer. And so, I think his agent is David Dean's son, is he not?
Yeah. Something
Um,
like that.
yeah, so make it shake. Make it shake.
It's gonna cost top whack, but get it done, man.
But listen, that you pay when you make mistakes, so I need to see that
Yeah,
money.
man.
Okay. But he's somebody that I think comes straight into the team and doesn't need any adaptation, isn't scared, could actually do the job that we probably wish that we could get from Emil and Fabio Vieira.
Emil
So
can do it. He just needs a platform, but I hear you
all
about
right, all
Fabio,
right. Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah. He could do it. He could do it. Yeah.
I always have
Okay.
to push the
Yeah.
Smith Rowe
Okay.
agenda. I'm with him till the wheels fall off, man.
Uh, but
We was
yeah, I
once
would love
linked to
him.
go on.
But yeah, I would take him. And in terms of Elise as well, I would take him too. I see that's like Manchester United are willing to do it like a swap or whatever, but Elise
We've been
would,
linked with him. That's why I mentioned him. I'm
yeah,
getting it done tomorrow, man.
he would prefer a move to Arsenal, I heard, but like, of course you would, like, be serious.
Yeah, and you
Um,
stay in London, and we're in a
yeah,
lot more health than United. But United, the Man United, innit? They got money to
of
blow, really,
course,
as
of
you've seen.
course. Um, I think I would take both or one of those. I don't care. I think we need to spend most of our money in the summer closer towards the goal. So
I
I
don't
would
think
not,
you're wrong.
yeah, a striker, a winger, another attacking mid would not be bad, but like,
A proper number 8 would do
yeah,
me
number
good,
8,
you know.
that would be great. But Arsenal need a center back and a left back. So, you
This is
know.
the thing, like we keep needing things. Like I know every team needs everything. Pep would probably say he wants more, but we keep needing things. I think it's a case
Yeah.
of the positions, like you said, probably now with a number 2 goalie because Ramsdale's days are numbered. Then I
Yeah.
think it's just about marrying the depth really and truly, and then we're kind of set, man. We've been linked with a second Everton player, Braithwaite. Would you have him?
Yeah, I mean, my ideal choice for the center back position would be Diamande from Sporting. I think
Another one is going to cost
he's
money.
yeah, they're all gonna cost a lot of money,
Yep.
but if I'm gonna like, whoever it is has got to be able to do what Saliba and Gabriel do, period. So the guy that you have up on the screen right now, he can't do it. He's slow, he's heavy and clumsy,
Oh, you
you
don't rate
know?
Dilly? I'm having him. I'm having him. I'm having him. I'm having Dilly. I'm having Dilly. I'm having Dilly. I'm having him. I'm having him. I'm
Why?
not having him if it means we are going to spend stupid money and not
Okay,
move
but
up for a striker, a
sell him to
winger,
me
etc.
though.
I
Sell
don't
him
think we're
to me.
in for
What is
him
it about him?
personally. I don't think we're in for him. I think he's a player we admire. I think if there's a deal to be done, fair enough. But I just don't think we're in for him. And like we've been linked with Musiala and Delete. I think the bulk of these rumors are more like in Delit's case, probably doesn't see eye to eye with Tommy Tuchel. Probably a bit dismayed about his first team football with Musiala. As much as I would love him at the club, it seems a bit like the contracty stuff. And even with Xavi Simons, I'm somewhat pessimistic. I'd love to be proven wrong, but and I don't know PSG's plans for him, but it's a thing where he's there for the future. If you somehow keep Mbappe, you've got Warren Zaire Emery and Xavi Simons shouldn't even be on loan at Leipzig with the greatest respect. Should be at Paris Saint-Germain. He's shown that he's a quality player. Like Arsenal fans, we've seen first time. So I'm pessimistic on the link. He's not only just been linked with us, but been linked with Man United. I just don't think we're going to give Bayern what they're asking for. Romano said Cedric is cutting, so I'm not going to waste time asking you on that. We've already gone over that. And what's this? Well, Cedric's so good. I got him twice, really, but needs to cut, man. But there ain't nothing else to discuss apart from Crystal Palace. Jess, what's your predictions to round up this live stream? Are you confident about 3 points, clean sheet, getting back on track?
Oh my goodness. Well, 100% one of Olise or Eze is going to score. We know that.
We know what time it is.
It's not going to be like even Ayu. He tends to do stuff. Like, I don't know why. He's a bum.
I hope he's still at AFCON. Like somehow he'll find a way to play.
This is true. He is at AFCON, so maybe we won't have to deal with him.
But he could do that on anything where 1 minute you're going off to AFCON, then you're playing, then you're back. I don't know.
Yeah.
His decision making ain't the best.
So here's the thing. We should be beating Crystal Palace 3-4-0.
Yeah,
we really should. Last season at home, we played them off the park. Olise barely touched the ball. It was a great game. But this season, it seems like we can lose to anybody. Like,
especially with this form we're in, everyone's going to fancy us.
Exactly. When we played them earlier on in the season, we were dominant, but we only scored 1 goal with the penalty. So
we were down to 10 men though. If I can remember correctly, Tomiyasu got sent off. Did he?
For like the last 20 minutes though. the first
True.
half we were ass, you know.
True.
We were still doing the nonsense with Thomas Partey at right back, but still.
True.
So you can lose to anybody, and if we're like we were when we went to Dubai, we're losing. We are like we're gonna lose. Like I don't
And
know
we
what to tell
can't
you.
allow that, man.
Yeah, but if we come out and we play like we did against Brighton, which wasn't that long ago, we'll beat them easily, you know? So you just don't know what you're going to get from this Arsenal team. Last season, we were very predictable in terms of we knew we were going to beat all these teams. Like any of this, like it was very obvious.
We're winning the games that we should be winning.
Exactly. This season, I don't know what to tell you.
It's been do you know what it is for me this season? And obviously there's been games like, you know, Chelsea, Spurs. I can't really say Spurs is a big team, but the bigger games we've kind of gone through the motions. But I would say it's like when we're playing the Cities and Liverpools and stuff of that ilk, and to a degree even West Ham, it's like we're raising our level for the good teams, and respectfully to the others, we're dropping the levels. Like even when we beat Luton, like respectfully to Luton, because they've shown going to their place is difficult, but we're on shenanigans really, and that's jarring, and that can't be in us.
No, we need to really get some level of consistency. I feel like the whole season has been us trying to figure out a way to click, and we got very close to clicking, and then we went to Anfield, and then now we're worse than we've been at all like this entire season. So
we've only got 2 games this month as well. So let's
yeah,
make it count.
I would love against Crystal Palace beyond the win. I kind of want to see the team look lighter. You know, I feel like there's been an element of like anxiety and heaviness. Like the players don't look like they're playing with any level of freedom, and not just from the system standpoint, but they're playing within themselves. And I just feel like they play their best when they're having fun, you know, and I just want to see them at least have fun. You're out of domestic cups, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about Champions League until February 21st. So you have a couple games from now until then to just try to pick up some points
and save your season. Like I think you said it as well, but me, I don't think Premier League's coming to the Emirates. I want to be wrong. If I'm pessimistic about the Premier League, we can't even get into conversation about the Champions League. But just because I'm saying that, I don't want to be, you lot can't believe that. You lot are the ones putting the blood, sweat, and tears. Your career is going to be done like that before you look, even though they're young. Yeah. So go and make it count and salvage something. And also, if you lot are really behind Arteta, like you say you are, don't let your manager get embarrassed anymore. Go and put in a performance because you're letting him down. Like you're letting yourselves down, and you're letting your gaffer down. I'm going. Do you know what? I would have said 2-0, but you're kind of converting me into believing. You know what? We're gonna concede, so I'm gonna go with 3-1. Yourself?
I'm gonna go 2-1.
Oh, my heart can't take any more of this, Jess.
What they need, I think it'll be a close one, but it'll be what starts our form. We'll play well, but we just won't score enough goals. But the one thing that they kind of have to do is maybe give the Emirates something to cheer about. I feel like the relationship right now is strange because last season everybody was happy go lucky and they fed off of the Emirates and the Emirates fed off of the performances, but now it's almost like the fans are waiting for the team to give them something to cheer about, and also the players are, I think, nervous when they're in the Emirates because it's quiet, and it wasn't like that last season.
Only Odegaard seems to be gassing up the fans. Well, to be fair, he was cheering to the Liverpool fans, but he was trying nonetheless.
Yeah, exactly. And so they need to put in a performance to make the fans believe again. Like, I feel like that's when I was there against Fulham, that was a long time ago at the beginning of the season. It was quiet. It was quiet. It was tense. There was a lot of tension. I know we chucked it into the back of our net in the first 10 seconds, but there's just something about this season that feels like on both sides, fans and players, that everybody's unsure. And so I feel like the fans aren't going to be able to do it. They're too nervous. So the players need to give, if they could perform like they had been last season,
fans would naturally follow.
They will, but they need something to cheer about. And we're not cheering about you guys having 20 chances and not putting it away and inevitably giving up a soft ass goal on a corner. You know,
you're right. Facts.
You know, so that's what I'm looking forward to. I just want to see them play with a level of like freedom and excitement.
And I think you're bang on the money. Just a bit of clarity, man. Especially what you said. Just play. People will say, "Well, you playing with us? What are you talking about? Playing with a smile on their face?" That's exactly what they say. But in life, when you're confident, when you feel good, you typically do good. So I want to see that, and I also want to see a degree of like for me, I know myself. If nobody rates me, if I know I'm gonna fail at something, then me, I know as an individual, I'm kind of fearless because what's the worst that can happen? You don't rate me anyways, so I might as well be a madman in it. And that's what I want to see the players on. So you're bang on the money you're right, because Arteta in small ways he's alluding to what you're saying about we want the fans behind us, want to give a performance, even down to the Liverpool game. He's like they wanted that, and I do think that's how they kind of started the game. But as you said, naturally, with what has been the case of us in the last few games, the inevitable happened, didn't it? So hopefully it's different. Let people know where they can find your content, what you've got to come out, etc. I can't imagine you're not subscribed to Just People, but make sure you're doing such. And let's hear from the lady herself, innit?
Yeah, guys, more nonsense on She Knows Arsenal. You guys can just go into the YouTube search bar, put in She Knows Arsenal, and I'll pop up. You guys can follow me on like Twitter and Instagram at Jessica Black TV. And we just started like a new podcast called The Cannon Club. You guys can watch that on like Mondays and Fridays. And yeah.
Is that on the same platform? The Cannon
Club?
Well,
The Cannon Club is the Monday episode is on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. The Friday episode is for patrons only.
Sign up to that, folks.
So you guys can sign up for that. But it's like me, Harry, Femi, Laura, Colleen, all the people that you guys know from the channel. I would have asked you to be on it, but then I figured you'd be too busy.
Oh, that's cool, man. It's cool,
I was like,
I could do special guests and them things.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, if I need a super sub, I'll ask you.
I don't know about super sub. I'm like Bukayo Saka in this, but I hear it.
Okay, you could be Trossard. How about that?
I'm Emil Smith. Bro, I wear number 10, Bergkamp's number.
Exactly. But we would love to have you on whenever you're available and stuff like that. But you have your own channel and all that kind of stuff. But you guys can follow me there. You guys know the deal. I'm around.
Exactly. So people, first things first, make sure you're subscribing to Jesse's channel. Make sure obviously subscribing if you haven't here. Let us know your thoughts as well on everything we've discussed, because I'm sure a lot of you agree, disagree. We're either chatting nonsense. We're not. Either way, football would be boring if we all felt the same way. And yeah, man, hopefully when we're next back in Premier League action, which is in a couple of days against Palace, we get 3 points and then we beat Nottingham Forest and we get something versus Liverpool and everything looks rosy. But for now, folks, we're out, man. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace.
There's always just that active red flag defending. I think it's like